If you're curious which multiplayer shooters stood out the most in the past decade, 2010 to 2019 by the way, then this best multiplayer shooter list should answer that. Note that the list is not ranked in any ways. It is sorted alphabetically. And while I would love to include every shooter game that has made an impact to us, I have to trim it down a bit, or we would be easily looking at 20 to 25 games. Okay, so here we go. Best multiplayer shooters of the decade. Firstly, I would like to say Battlefield 3. Probably the best Battlefield game of all time. Battlefield 3 kicks off the list, given how it perfectly blended infantry and vehicular combat. Not only that, but it also gave us some of the most memorable maps in the Battlefield history too. Add in the fantastic gunplay, weapons and character customization, and you have a multiplayer shooter for the ages. You got to love the multiplayer part of it, man. Come on. I mean, like, there are people still playing it till this day. Well, basically all the game in this list. Next, Battlefield 4. Battlefield 4 managed to hit its stride after multiple patches by DICE. Once those were sorted out though, fans were treated to a spectacular never been seen in a multiplayer shooter with DICE Revolution gameplay designed for maps. Of course, any gimmick will lose steam quick if it's not backed up by solid gameplay. Luckily, Battlefield 4 had that covered. Coupled with a solid performance system, the best gun customization feature in the franchise history. The first Battlefield game that allowed 64 players matches on console, and you can have one of the most memorable shooters of the decade. Next, Battlefield Bad Company 2. Alongside Battlefield 3, Battlefield Bad Company 2 is always in the conversation when it comes to the best Battlefield game of all time. Those who played this game last generation should know that there is an endless amount of stuff to love about it. From the best in the franchise destruction, memorable maps, fast-paced action, unique gadgets and more. Bad Company had it all. If there's one Battlefield game that the fans want to be remastered or remade, it's Bad Company, hands down. And yeah, it's understandable why. Next, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Ask someone now what the best Call of Duty game is of all time, and chances are you will hear Black Ops 2 as part of the discussion, easily topping our list as the best Call of Duty game last decade. Black Ops 2 is one of the finest Call of Duty game to date and is not even close. Where should I begin? How they introduced score strikes instead of kill strikes. Wow. Also prioritizing objective ahead of kills. What about the Pick 20 layout system? That gave players total freedom in how they want to set up their guns, equipments and more. Mix that with the Call of Duty franchise tight gameplay, fantastically designed 3-lane maps, and you have the Call of Duty Gumbo that other entries in the franchise can't even come close to. Next, Call of Duty Black Ops 3. While Call of Duty 2 might be deemed the best Call of Duty of last decade or of all time, Black Ops 3 easily knobs the best jetpack Call of Duty title. Sure, the game featured specialists, but it wasn't as balance breaking as the Black Ops 4, and it featured a smooth watering moment system that at the time made gunfires more exciting. Some people might not remember Black Ops 3 as fondly, but watch this gameplay video and tell me down in the comment section if there is a better futuristic Call of Duty game ever made. Go on, I'll wait. Look at this beauty, man. Next, Destiny. Regardless of how you feel about live service games, it's hard to deny Destiny franchise impact not only on multiplayer shooter, but on video game as a whole. In Destiny, Bungie has crafted an ever-living world that not only lets people play online cooperative, but go against each other as well. What makes Destiny's PvP interesting is, players are able to bring their weapon and armors packed up as loot and bring it into competitive multiplayer matches. On the PvE front, Destiny proved that shooters need not always need to be competitive experiences. It's one thing to frag people and net a ton of kills against your buddies online, but there's a different kind of high tracking bosses and missions side by side with friends, and then scoring tons of loot after. Next, Fortnite. While Fortnite didn't invent the Battle Royale genre, it sure as hell is the most popular one out there today. Epic Games' free-to-play shooters threw its own twist into the Battle Royale formula by letting players build structures, which helps them cover while they are in combat. Some might see Fortnite as too casual for their liking, but you can't deny the game's appeal and how it penetrated even non-gaming culture. Will this game die down eventually? We can't say for sure, but millions of people can't be wrong for loving this, right? Next, Grand Theft Auto Online. The issue that plugged Grand Theft Auto Online from the get-go are well documented. But almost 7 years later, it has become the pinnacle of online games. From running heists with friends, racing around fan-made racing tracks, or causing chaos in free roam, the way to make the money and make your way to the top of the Grand Theft Auto criminal empire is endless. Some of the many reasons why it's still a top 10 telling game every month. Next, Halo 5. When it comes to Halo 5, the campaign is easily the weakest in the series, but the multiplayer is top notch. Taking the next step, Halo 5 MP is fast, fluid, and adds so many fantastic game mods. Fans of the classic Halo might take a bit of adjustment for the quicker state of play, but the core mechanic of the control and power weapon controls are still crucial to winning matches. Next, Overwatch. Who would have thought that Blizzard Entertainment would be able to penetrate the crowded online multiplayer spree? Not only did Blizzard did that with Overwatch, but it got so big that it influenced how other multiplayer shooter would be designed moving forward. Overwatch managed to give shooter fan a taste of a hero characters, usually only present in MOBA titles. And not only did they make it work, but it was also balanced exactly too. Next, Rainbow Six Siege. Released back in 2015, Rainbow Six Siege is still going strong heading into the 5th year. How many video games that released the last decade can say the same? Not only did Ubisoft bring the Rainbow Six formula and updated it for more modern testers, but it provided an unheard of level of post-launch support that we are still seeing to this day. Oh yeah, and the different operations, gadgets, weapons, and maps definitely helped too. Next, The Division. While Destiny might have been the first console game to offer the live service gameplay that we are all familiar with now, Ubisoft countered that with The Division, which is a more grounded take than heavily focusing on co-op, loot drops, and on how best to tackle button sponge enemies. For those that have played it, the way the game necessitated teamwork by making sure your character abilities synergized was one of the best co-op experience last decade. While the game's Dark Zone PvP mod was met with mixed results, kudos should have given to Ubisoft for trying something new. Next, The Last of Us. The Last of Us is truly one of the best games to date, and while its single player component is by far the biggest focal point, its multiplayer comes as a huge surprise to many that played it. Unlike many of the other shooters at this list, The Last of Us multiplayer offers a far slower paced style to play that emphasizes teamwork and survival. Nearly everything about the multiplayer is exciting as its single player campaigns. Map designs are well made and with plenty of covers to offer. Guns and controls feels right and weight heavy as if every action has a consequences and a moment-to-moment confrontations. They are just as stress-inducing as they are in the main campaign. It really is a title that I have yet to find a match for, and if you haven't played it, I strongly suggest you pick up the PlayStation 4 remastered version. Last, Titanfall and Titanfall 2. Last but definitely not the least are Titanfall 1 and Titanfall 2. Yes, I know I'm kinda cheating by combining those two into one entry, but each title did enough to differentiate itself from the other, and at the same time giving a similar experience. While Black Ops 3 might have the best jetpack for Call of Duty games, the best wall running, but best jetpack shooter last decade unfortunately belongs to the Titanfall franchise. When you factor in Mitch, fantasy gameplay, new gameplay mods that mixed in AI with your traditional multiplayer matches, then you have one of the best multiplayer shooter of all time. Mind that, it's no surprise since the folks behind the Titanfall franchise is none other than Respawn Entertainment, which is comprised for former Infinite Ward's senior developers that work on Call of Duty Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2. Yes guys, that's one of the list for the best multiplayer shooter games out there. If you are new, why not considering hitting the subscribe button, and also don't forget to hit the like button. It will honestly really mean a lot to me. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time on my next video. Bye, peace out.
Friendly pilot has the flag.